Hello and welcome back to the one and only Speculation Alley. It is your boy, your friend, your community member, A-Bomb, and of course with me as always is my brother from another mother, Crypto Dilly. What's going on, brother?
Not a lot, man. We just wrapped up Other Spaces, got nominated for Tinfoil Speculator for the other side. Definitely, I won that amongst
Let's
some fierce
go.
competitors like Guchita, Kupo Koda, and then I think the other one is Prestige. It's super hard name to pronounce, but super proud of those guys. Congratulations on 1 year for Other Spaces FM. Pretty cool.
Bro, Nana and Baron are killing it. But let's get straight into this. Yeah, we got some big talk that we want to unleash on the community. So
Heck yeah. So, what we're going to be talking about today, there's lots of content that came out from 10KTF, obviously. If you have not seen the recent trailers, go check that out. It's absolutely insane, the cinematics that go into building this stuff out. But what we're going to get into is really G tags and how we feel that they're actually going to play out in the other side, but also, starting out right now, how they're going to actually work and what they're going to be built on top of with Battletown 2.0. So, A-Bomb, you want to jump into what the mechanics we foresee happening will look like?
I do. I want to give a shout out to Keegan because he was here at my pad. We were chopping it up, and this is how we kind of came to this conclusion. But essentially, think of it as if you have a G tag similar to what happened with the other deeds and going on other side trips, where metadata was essentially burned into that other deed. Now, let's parallel that with a G tag going and being submitted on a battle, right, or a mission in Battletown. So let's just use these tiers as like a desert, right? So if this G tag goes on a desert mission, theoretically it would have desert metadata mission burnt into that G tag now. Okay. Now we have in the end of this, let's say you submit that same G tag to a bunch of other missions. So it has multiple different kinds of metadata applied to it, right? Well, in the end of this now, where you're going to now burn this G tag for a PFP, it will be determined by what metadata was burnt into the G tag, theoretically, is what we're thinking. Now, where does the popcorn come into play? Well, the popcorn is maybe a multiplier. So if you have, like, let's say 20 popcorn that you've acquired over, bounties and whatnot, or missions, you would then be able to multiply. Let's say if you sent one G tag on a desert mission, and then you got another G tag later on, and you got two G tags for a water mission, right? You would now have two in this desert because it's a multiplier of two, and you'd have four in the water mission because you got 20 popcorn. They just cut the zero out and make it a two-time multiplier. This is, again, all speculation and theory from our community here and ourselves. But if this does play out, think about the stacking technique and like mechanic that would play out here. And it's going to be very quantized and in the sense of very personalized because everyone's going to have a different sort of multiplier and a different metadata burned into their stuff and however many they have of those G tags. Now, if you have a G tag that was, because they said in the first mission here, when you submit, be aware that these avatars will not be available for other missions while they're in this mission, which means certain G tags, if you reserve those later to have for another mission, they're not going to get that metadata. If you reserve a G tag for like another mission and you don't send them on the desert one, it's not going to happen. But this is where the stacking comes into play, where Figgy talked to us about taking
Fusing.
multiple G tags and fusing them together. I call it stacking. He calls it fusing, but we'll call it fusing then. But that's where I feel like the G tag is going to be potentially one of two things for a PFP. It's either going to be a new PFP, like a citizen of New Tokyo, if you will, like a character maybe, or a citizen that's within the world, or it's going to be what we've speculated in the past as well, which will be the IP you choose, which will be your ape, your oni, your wizard, whatever it is. And essentially, you'll have these traits, the metadata from the G tag, whether it be desert metadata, water metadata, whatever it is, from these missions you go on, infused or fused with your current PFP, and that'll then create this dynamic playable avatar that'll continue to change over time. Almost thinking about like fable where if you do more good deeds, you lose horns and you glow more. But if you do more bad deeds, your horns grow and you become like darker. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
I
That's
I
not
really
real.
like this because it becomes really strategic, right? Like they broke apart. If you're not familiar with 10 KTF, when you originally burned a Genesis day pack or a Genesis item within the 10 KTF collection, you were able to get a G tag. And depending on the rarity, you got multiples of G tags. Now,
Right.
if you were an epic, you got 27 G tags. If it was rare, it was 9, and so on and so forth. Now Figgy is saying that you're able to fuse these back together. Now, why would they split them up other than for this reason, which A-Bomb's describing right here, where you can actually be extremely strategic? And they said, use your G tag wisely. So in that context, this makes a lot of sense because if you go on one mission and one G tag is locked up, well, if another mission arises and you need to send reinforcements to that one, well, you need to be able to have another G tag ready to actually go on that mission to make sure that you get all the metadatas. And the same way that we were able to be 20 badge gang, you would want to obviously collect all the metadata. And if you are one of the OGs that has a ton of G tags and you end up getting all this metadata, at the very end, you fuse your G tags all together to make sure you have all the metadata in alignment. That G tag is going to convert into one epic bad motherfucker because that PFP is going to be really cool.
I agree, and that's one of the things I was talking about, where it's like very quantized to each person's own experience and their bag, really. Because if you think about that, you're going to like one. I think one G tag, you're going to have a cool PFP. Because again, thinking about what Figgy said about the chair as well, I think it's very meta in that, where it's based off of the artist, which is who defines the art, right? The chair, whether it be a stump or an iron chair, the Game of Thrones chair, whatever it is in your mind, that is you as an artist creating then the art, which is the chair. So it's the same concept here with the G tags, which is like the chair is the PFP, which this is what he was saying again. What defines a PFP? What defines a fucking chair? So it's again, what defines the PFP or the chair is the work or the data, if you will, the thought or the submission to missions and the metadata that then was burned into that, which will define that chair or that PFP, which is what I
Yeah.
think he was talking about. But
Well, and
who
then
am I?
also adding in those multipliers. I mean, the popcorn being a multiplier makes a lot of sense. We've seen that mechanic utilized within Battletown already.
Yeah,
And it's just another extra piece of reward. And what's really good about this whole ecosystem is regardless of whether you hold a G tag or you don't, you're still going to be able to participate. And it sounds like you'll be able to get popcorn no matter what as well. And so those will actually, materialize into points, which in the past have always been ApeCoin, but we saw this shift now where it's going to be popcorn and tea leaves, right?
well, that's where I want to go next. Is what are the tea leaves for? And we saw 893 being pumped, and Kagamis, and speculation going around them. Obviously, we did a video last week on them. I think it goes even further with that, because I think you will need, where it says there's an impossible arcade machine at the center of the swamp. Use your trip wisely. You may have to use tea, because thinking about Wagmi-san's past, when he drank the Coda or the creation elixir, for all we know now it's called,
The
he
dream.
ended up, the last thing we saw was the him in the desert. After he drank it, he was in the desert with his dune buggy. So you'd figure it gives you some sort of ability to cross through this other side potentially. Whereas maybe having a Kagami will make it where you don't necessarily need to have the tea leaves to go and do this. You'll just have the free access to do that, and that then is that utility in Battletown. So I mean, dude, there's so many potentials to go down with this, but
Sprinkling in that Kagami spec, bro.
we got to
Ooh.
pump those bags, baby. We got to pump those bags, all right?
Let's get
So,
it. Let's get it.
yeah.
Well, awesome.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I love all this. I think that everything that we're talking about is for sure going to materialize into what we
100.
speculate. I mean, not financial advice, but go get your G tags and be ready for Battletown. And with that being said, we appreciate you guys watching this week's episode of Speculation Alley. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. Comment what you think your speculation about what G tags will be and how that's going to play out. Also, comment and join us on Spaces, Twitter Spaces, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do a Speculation Alley, bring the community together. Last week we had a lot of people show up. It was amazing, really good time. So with that being said, I want to say thank you again for watching, and we'll see you guys in next week's episode. Peace.